Hey there folks, today we're gonna put to the test the design skills of Opus 4.5, ChatGPT 5.2, and Google Gemini 3 Pro. And we're gonna also use those in their native tools, Claude Code, Codex, and Anti-Gravity. But also I'm gonna run those three using OpenCode to see which one produces the best design. And for that, I'm gonna use my personal web page here. This page was designed about mid last year, and it was designed using, I believe, Sonnet 4 at the time. And almost everything here is AI generated. I just guided a little bit. There are several things that I don't like about it. I like the styling, I like the colors, and I like all that. But we're gonna try and redesign this a little bit. What I really don't like is this fluffy code here, which is our fluffy text, I should say, and all of this here, which could be, it's somewhat true, but it's very cheesy in my opinion, and I don't like that. What I want to do is get something that is more content focused, so we're gonna try and do that. I have a prompt. I'm gonna show the prompt in a second, but first what I'm gonna say is all four tools that I'm using, Claude Code, Codex, Anti-Gravity, and OpenCode, have access to one single skill, which is the front-end design skill from Anthropic. I'm using this as is. The only main difference, or the only single difference, is that I specify Svelte because that's what I'm using. So this project is a Svelte kit / Svelte project. But other than that, there are no changes and everything else is pure vanilla. I found out very recently that Codex now supports skills, so I set that up for skills. I have yet to use anti-gravity. The only reason I have anti-gravity installed is so that I can use Gemini models with OpenCode, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I found a documentation that says how to set up skills for anti-gravity. Again, never use it. I don't know how it's gonna work. Now, let's go to the prompt here. And the prompt, I wrote most of it. I asked Claude to format in a way that would be more suitable to LLMs, but most of it I wrote it. And the goal here is to redesign a homepage for audience building. I have 3 sites for inspiration. For instance, this one here, I really like it. And let me open quickly. And that's going to be important because it's very content focused, right? It's no fluff, just go to the content. And that's one thing that I'm trying to aim at. There are a couple more and you can navigate to those. I try to define some core principles of what I want. So for instance, no marketing copy, no hero sections, no taglines. And as for the visual part of it, I worked a little bit with Canva to define a new visual. So this here I designed, the fonts I picked, the colors I picked, and this is what is represented in here. I made the icon and the logo available here, some content requirements that you can look at your own pace. I define here a hero intro section, if any, but honestly, I'm leaning more towards not having that. So this is important. I don't want to restrict the models to what I have here right now, giving it creative freedom. And I have a technical output here. So in this part, what I'm trying to achieve is for each one of the model and agent combination here, I want to have a different route so that I can compare them. And I have a successful criteria here, which is somewhat subjective, and to try and minimize the subjectiveness, and it's still going to be subjective, I created this table here where I am going to give it a 1 to 5 points by adherence to my prompt. The design quality, this is going to be subjective to my taste. The implementation code, I'm just gonna scan it to see if there are any major issues. How many times I had to iterate over this with prompts and back and forth. And the efficiency, so tokens and time consumed. And I'm just realizing here, just because I have Big Pickle for free with OpenCode, I'm gonna try that as well. So that's it. Let's put this to the test. And I'm gonna start first with Claude Code Opus. Let's copy this, go to my terminal and paste this into Claude Code. And as much as I can, I'm gonna try to not interfere with anything. I'm noticing here immediately with Claude is that it started working on the page and it never invoked the skill for front-end design. So let's see how that's gonna pan out in here. I'm gonna start the same process now with Codex. I'm gonna just change in the Z editor here. This is going to be Codex GPT 5.2. Okay. And going to the terminal, pasting it, starting. Immediately I see here that Codex decided to use the front-end skill. So that's different already. I can see that Cloud Code is launching Puppeteer to validate this. It's taking some screenshots to see what's going on there. I'm gonna start this with anti-gravity. Now come here to anti-gravity and send this. All right, so Cloud Code is done. It used about 100,000 tokens and took 6 minutes and 36 seconds. Let's take a quick look of what it produced. Yep, that's something. The one thing I can notice already is it did not use the fonts as it should. So those are not the fonts that I asked it to use. I find that this sticky header is good. Not in love with this, I can say, but it's definitely more content focused. I'm not sure I write about TypeScript as much anymore, or almost anything about it. But anyway, let me see if I have a GPT. Let's reload this page. Same thing. Okay. I like this better already, I gotta say. Personally, it's using the correct fonts. Again, not sure I'm in love with this. I like this header here a bit more, I'm gonna say. I like the gradient underline. The logo here, it's probably the fault of the logo. It's not transparent. If you were transparent, it would fit better in this background here. Yeah, overall, I think I like this better than Opus here. Let's see, anti-gravity. Whoa, okay. It's not bad. I think I like the big text here. The header was not as creative, but I like this as well. It's not bad, it's not bad. Oh, there's a glowing effect here. Not sure how I feel this with the not transparent background, but I guess with the transparent background it will be a little bit better. I like this. Yeah, it's simple. I'm liking this. Not sure so far how I feel about everything else. Let's take a look at the efficiency here. So for Codex, still trying to auto fix the code. Okay, so it's still running. Let's run a little bit more. In this one here, how can I see stats here? I have no idea how to look at stats in here. And from what I could see here is that it didn't use the skill. I could not find a way evidently here. I'm not gonna go to the trouble of looking at this. It was definitely faster than Cloud Code because I started this later on and it finished before Cloud Code. Codex here is still confirming a bunch of stuff, so 15 minutes and running. I'm gonna shoot and I'm gonna assume here that, let's say that anti-gravity Gemini took, I don't know, about 5 minutes. Opus took about 5-6 minutes. I'm just gonna note this down and then I'm gonna give the points and 100k tokens. I have no idea how many tokens were used in this session. Here it took for 15 minutes and 45 seconds. This current session here used 98k tokens, so almost the same as Opus, and took 15 minutes. That's it for the native tools. I gotta say that if I'm looking at this right now, I really don't like this heading style here. I'm okay with this. I kind of like how the blog posts have been laid out here, which is simple, to the point. It doesn't say much, but yeah. In this one, it feels less modern to me. I'm not in love with how this turned out. I kind of like this heading here, and the rest of it, it's fine. Didn't blow me away. The card style here might be better, not sure. I honestly just think that so far this is the worst one, but we'll see about it. Now let's go and put open code to the test. And I'm gonna start a session here with open code, and I have Open code Claude Opus. There you go. And if you're wondering how I'm using Opus here, through Open Code Zen, you can get credits to use different models. So this is API token consumption. All right, it's working. I'm going to start a new tab. This will be using my GPT account. So let's go and do that. And one more open code. Switch the models to use Gemini. There you go. Start working. And one more session of open code. This is going to be the big pickle. The 4 open code ones are working. So let's wait for it. So apparently my rate limits aren't working for Gemini 3 Pro from here. I guess I reached the limits. I'm not sure if this is not working anymore or I really reached the limits here. So I'm not gonna run this today anymore. I'm just gonna let the other ones run. That's fine. Opus here took 4 minutes and 17 seconds and 86,000 tokens. So a little bit more efficient with open code. Let's see GPT here. I guess this is going to be faster as well. So 6 minutes instead of the 15 minutes that Codex took, and only 64,000 tokens. So Gemini didn't work. Big Pickle, okay, 5 minutes and only 32,000 tokens. Let's see the results. First off, let me see back. Okay, that's the CC Opus, Cloud Code Opus, Codex GPT, Gemini. This is Open Code Opus. Again, it didn't use the proper fonts. Is this Laura? Let me see if this is Laura. Font family. That's Laura, actually. Yes, that's correct. And if I inspect this one here, is this? Yes, this is Kantumruy Pro. So it did use the proper fonts. I told it to use Kantumruy Pro for headings, and I would assume this is a heading anyway. Not bad. This one here, this is OC Opus. I'm gonna say that between this Opus here and this other Opus here, I think I prefer this one. I guess this is better. This is not great in here. All right, let me try one. So GPT really likes its gradient backgrounds. So if you go here, it's a very same gradient background. Yeah, it's fairly similar. I like this heading better than this, I guess. I think I like this style better than this, actually. The newsletter should took the whole row, in my opinion. Let's see OC Pico. Holy smokes. Yeah, Pico is not the winner. Yeah, look at this. Not its forte. I don't like this. Yeah, it's all right. It didn't remove the top header here as I expected, nor it removed the bottom. This is the current bottom here. Yeah. So technically, this is not great. All right, I tell you the results, and let's see this straight away. So I have the big winner in terms of my subjective-ish score is Anti-Gravity Gemini 3 Pro. So I didn't want to go for Gemini. I don't use this model very often. And I have to say, honestly, it's the one that it did the best in terms of numbers, raw numbers. The second one is Open Code and Opus. And I'm going to go over these numbers in a second. Big Pico actually did a good number here in terms of the rest of it. The worst one was Open Code with GPT and just pure straight GPT. And I think that these numbers here were the issue mainly, right? So it was not very efficient with the results. Okay, so let's take a quick look on how I judge this. So by adherence, what I was thinking is, did it do the job that I asked it to do in terms of redesigning, keeping it content focused, and not being too fluffy about it? So Claude Code with Opus here, I gave it a 5. I think it did a great job of adhering to the results here. And it's simple, it's content focused, it doesn't have a lot of fluff. It created something here that I'm not actually 100% happy about it with TypeScript. I love TypeScript, but I, I don't have anything related to TypeScript in here. Regardless, it kept to a single one line in here and it's focused. I don't think that this is bad. This is a good design. If I were to use this one, I would iterate a little bit over more. I know I mentioned the fonts, and using correct fonts would be part of adherence, but I'll go back to the code here and quickly, so CC Opus, one thing that I noticed is that it tried to use the correct fonts. It just didn't work. I guess if I iterated a little bit more with it, it would reach and debug this and find a conclusion. So it tried to adhere. It's just that it failed with the implementation, but that's it. So GPT, the one thing is here, the Codex GPT, I think this section here was in the end too much leaning on the side of fluffiness that I didn't want. So that's why I gave it a 3. And also, like writing here, what does writing mean on this context? I'm not from Toronto. Some stuff here I just didn't like. Overall, it's not bad. It doesn't look, it's not what I'm looking for, actually. I think the best part here was this header. I think that's the one thing that I like the most. I like this gradient underline here. Let's go to Gemini. And Gemini, I gave it a score of 5. I think it was 100% there. It has a cool heading here. I like the glow. It was very simple in the heading part here. I'm not sure if I would stay with this. I kind of like this. Maybe, yeah, I like this. I like this. I don't think that's bad. It would not be my idea of proposal. I would not go this way, but I like the creativity. I like this box as well. So yeah, straight to the point. I think this was good. Next one. So I gave it a 5. Open Claude with Opus. So I give it a 4. And looking back here, I'm not sure if I should give it a 4 because compared to this one that I gave a 5, I think it's very similar. It's just a different structure. I'm gonna switch this back. I'm gonna say that this is actually 5, and this is now competing to be the lead one. Okay, 17. GPT 5.2. This part here is not, I'm not happy about this. This hero thing, writing recent posts in here, and then I have latest posts in here. I just think it was too much on that part. And Big Pico was Big Pico. So to not make this too long, okay, I think that design-wise, my winner was OC Opus 4.2. So this one here, this was my favorite in terms of design. Although I really liked this one too. So yeah, I would give this actually 4. Let's put it as a 4. Big Pico, just didn't like it at all. I think that for GPT, the gradients here are not, I'm not sold in the gradients, the 2 version of the gradients. The one winning part of the GPT was this. Overall, not great. Implementation wise, so this was interesting. Most of them, I'm just gonna glance. I think the only one that did not do this, oh yes, there are 2. The only one that I think it did not do this was Pico, actually. Pico used Tailwind as I have been using everywhere in the page. I think everybody else decided to just do raw CSS, which I find weird. Also, Pico fetched the post directly from the backend here instead of going through my API. I do have an API for this, and everybody else just decided to go and fetch the API, which I think is, oh no, this is OCC Opus directly. Also use get posts, and it's even simpler here. So yeah, Big Pico did great with coding, actually. I think was the best implementation of coding from all of those. In terms of iterations, all of them were one shot. I didn't have to steer them in any shape or way or another, so that's fine. In efficiency, you can see the numbers here. The only number that I don't have here is the number of tokens from Google Gemini. So I gave it an average of 3 just because of timing here. And GPT, Codex GPT took 15 minutes. The same Codex here took 6 minutes. So big difference there. Overall, Gemini with anti-gravity, 17 points. And OpenCode with Opus, 17 points. I'm really curious to see, and I might eventually do this again, using OpenCode, just because OpenCode seems to be more efficient than the other tools. So 100K, 98K, and OpenCode here is more efficient with the tokens. Which one I'm gonna pick? Honestly, none of them straight out of the box. What I'm probably gonna do is mix and match them. I'm getting more sold on this from Gemini. I'm liking the heading of the OpenCode with Opus here. So this heading, I like it. And I do like from Claude Opus, the newsletter section here, and possibly the footer as well. So I think I'm gonna combine. In the end, I think in the end, Opus and Gemini were the best. Unfortunately, GPT is not there. One, it's too slow if you're using from Codex directly, and two, I think its design is not, I'm not sold on it. And that's it. That's my take on the design. For me, Opus and Gemini are neck to neck there. I think in terms of agent, I'm still sold on OpenCode. I think it's more efficient. I like, honestly, it was not part of the comparison here. I like the UI better. I like when it's asking questions, it asks more meaningful questions. So I do prefer OpenCode generally. I hope you enjoyed this. See you next time.